guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be having a conversation with Folashade, and this is a continuation of a conversation that we've had on her channel. So you should definitely watch part 1 and then come back to watch this video. And we're just talking about everything that you should know as a content creator. If you're moving to Canada or moving to the US, I think they're transferable points. So if you're moving abroad, if you're Japan and you're a content creator, the things that you need to know. On her channel, we've talked about our journeys, things you should do before you move, the things you should do immediately you move. And now we're just going to be talking about red flags, getting management, contracts, and all of that good stuff. So yeah,
like your rate should not be on your media. Yes, tell us why.
People say this is a selfish reason, but from the content creator's perspective, now, the reason I don't recommend it is it anchors your price. So this is how it works. On the agency side, on the brand side, you probably have maybe $5,000 that I want to spend. Depending on if you want to work with macro influencers, those are big influencers from like 500 to 1 million. 1 million and above are called mega. So micro is from 100. No, micro is from 100 to about maybe 300, 400. Anything from 400 is called mid-tier. Then anything below 10K is nano. So maybe I've said, okay, I have 50K to spend. In this 50K, I want to work with 5 influencers. Maybe 1 macro, 2, 2 micro, and 1 nano. Now, they allocate certain amounts, like percentage of the money that will go to each tier based on the number of followers you have, your engagement rate. I forgot to mention that. Include your engagement rate in your media kit. They will already, So for example, maybe you're a micro influencer, you have 100K. They already have 5K that they want to give you. They have it there. Their job is to maximize that 5K. As much to any extent, to the highest extent. If they can get 8 people with that 5K, 8 quality people with that 5K, they've done a fantastic job. So if they ask you, oh, send us your media kit and your rate is inside, maybe you don't know your words, like 1.5, or maybe you've worked with brand A and they paid you 1.5. You're like, wow, 1.5 is big money, so you put 1.5 there. But this brand, they have bigger budgets and they have 5K to give you. The 1.5 that you put in your that's what they will use to calculate, and that's what they will give you,
and they will not pay you more.
No, but they are not going to pay you more, except they are nice. They are nice. If God is speaking to them, give us more. But people are not nice because they have more people that they can give that money to. Because at the end of the day, it is part of their KPIs to deliver impressions, deliver
the most that they can
get
available
resources. So that is why I don't recommend putting your rates there. What I would just say is have a rate card for your own reference. I remember there's this lady I follow, Hayat Reader. She used to work at Facebook. And there's one thing she says, that your rate card should be like a menu. Every single thing you offer should have a rate. Instagram story should have a rate. Link in bio have a rate. Me, I always say give link in bio as if the brand is already paying you to create a reel and stories. I don't personally believe you should charge for link in bio, but there are people that do charge for link in bio. People charge for pinning your video to their profile, to the top of their profile. People charge for adding your stories to highlights. People charge for reels. If it's 1 picture you want, it has its rate. If it's a package of 3 pictures you want, it has its rates. So those kind of things. You should also have bundled rates that if you want 10 deliverables, I'll give you 10% discount. This is rate. Have it for your own reference. When the brand reaches out to you, Folashade, we want 1 reel, 1 TikTok, and 2 stories. Give them the rates for what they ask for. Don't now tell them, this is my rate card, this is everything, because they will pick the cheapest option.
Okay, I see now. That makes sense. So can you also ask them that do they have a budget?
Yes, you can also ask. If they reach out to you the first time, I always recommend ask for what their budget is first. If they now insist that no,
like it's almost like a game.
It's a game. It's a game, and I love it. I love the game. It's a game. So if they ask you, what is your rate? And like, oh, I like to work with, the client's budget. Let me know what the budget is. Some, they don't have time for back and forth. They just tell you the budget.
Okay.
When they tell you the budget, if it's good for you,
Yeah.
you can accept it. I will say, ask for more.
Just a little bit more.
Just a little
maybe
bit
like 10%.
more.
10%.
Even if it's what you want, don't make it seem like, oh, wow, I've never seen money in my life. Like, wow, you've never seen money in your life.
Like, just compose. Don't do it.
Compose yourself. Yes.
When they take it to the market and
And
the price meets.
And that's why I say, if you're a content creator, don't operate from a space of a mindset of scarcity.
Lord, please.
That's why I always tell content creator that see, I am in support of getting a full-time job, even if you're a content creator.
So you can do shakara.
They're not the one paying your rent. So if the money is not making sense, number one negotiation tactic, be ready to walk away. If you should be okay with not walking away. Oh, yes, it's to pay you that this is 1.5 that I've never my pocket, but it was not worth the amount of stress.
Yeah.
Because no matter how you still putting in efforts to create the content, even the content that is bad, you put in efforts
something
to create that content.
Yeah.
So if they ask you, what is your rate, ask them if there's a budget. Okay. If they don't give you a budget, they insist that we want your rate. You can give them the rates. Okay. Sometimes they will carry your rate and use one silly internal calculator to calculate it and come back and say, based on our calculator, this is how much you are worth. Then why did you ask what the rate is? But anyway, that's by the way. Yeah. So just give them the rate for what they asked for. Okay. And then from there, the negotiation will start. Sometimes negotiation can take 2 weeks. Sometimes it can take 3 weeks. Because both parties have to feel valued. So yes, you are charging 5K, but does the brand feel like they are getting
that
value that is worth 5K?
Yeah, true.
And that's why I don't subscribe to people that are always telling content creators, charge your what. Sometimes you are overshooting your words.
And I know that it has happened to me before. I think it was one campaign that he reached out to me for. And then I think my Canadian audience was not even like a lot. And I said I wanted to charge 7.5. Yeah. I remember because I had just spoken to one content creator that I really respect, Rennie, and she had told me that this is how much she charges. Forgetting that Rennie lived in Canada, grew up in Canada, and has like a lot more.
When you have certain things,
and then the person was kind enough to tell me that based on like the fact that you just got here, I think this is how much you should charge, and that like really helped. So what she's trying to say is like, don't overprice yourself out of the market that you're not now getting anything. So this conversation is two-tiered. What should you look out for like in contracts so that you don't fall into the mistakes that a lot of newbies make? That's number one. Yeah. And then the other thing is, how do you spot scam agencies or even scam brand partnerships? Yeah, and then we can finally talk about, the drought season, that every content creator that moves here experience. Is it avoidable or is it not?
Okay, starting off with the red flags in your contract. Yeah. There are so many and they can come in different forms. But I'll just highlight maybe the most popular 3 or 4. Okay. Number one, which everybody knows that I absolutely hates this word, and that is perpetuity or perpetual rights. Yeah. So anywhere you see it, it just means forever. So if you see in your contract where a brand is asking for usage rights in perpetuity, that means they want the rights to use your content forever. Okay. Now, I don't know how much any brand can pay you for you to give them the rights to just use your content, and it's usually any way they want. So they can modify it, they can cut it, they can do anything with the content forever. I don't know how much a brand is going to pay you to do that, but you can absolutely negotiate. There's nothing in your contract that you cannot negotiate. Okay. You can tell them, protect my rights as a creator. I do not give usage rights in perpetuity. To any brand. But what I can do is, I can give you 2 years, I can give you 1 year, I can give you 6 months. And after that 6 months, if you need more rights, come back. Okay. I will give you more rights. It's also easier to charge when there is a set duration.
Measurable.
Because you are supposed to be charging per month for each month that the brand is using your content. Okay. in ads.
Okay.
So for example, if your brand wants to use your content in ads like 3 months,
Okay.
you're supposed to be charging at least 15% of what your base rate is for every month.
Every month, okay.
So for example, if your base rate is $500, that is the money they are just paying you to create the video and to post the video.
Okay.
If they want to use the content in ads, charge them 15% of
that
500.
Yeah.
You add it to the 500.
Yeah.
That is the rate for creating the content, posting it, and giving them rights to use it for a month.
Okay.
So for every month they want to use it, add
that
15%. Another word is exclusivity.
Okay.
Exclusivity means that for a set duration of time, you will not work with certain brands that the brand will tell you. Maybe you will not work with brands in that same category, or you will not work with adjacent brands that do the same thing. So for example, you've worked with TapTapSend.
Yeah.
So maybe they can tell you, oh, for 6 months don't work with Pesa, don't work with Lemonade, don't work with all of these other brands. That is potential income
that you are missing out
on.
Okay.
So you should charge for that.
Okay.
Now exclusivity, there is no, in fact all these things I'm saying, there is no standard rate, but you should think of, if for example, if TapTapSend gives me 6 months exclusivity and Lemonade comes next month, what is the amount that I'm potentially losing by not working with them? That would inform what your exclusivity rate would be. But it also depends on the category. If it is not a busy category for you, so I'll give you an example. For someone like me, the likelihood that 2 furniture brands will reach out to me within 3 months is kind of low, because I'm not really creating a lot of content that is around that, and I don't receive a lot of brand inquiries about that. So if a brand wants me to give them exclusivity, I can just charge them maybe 40% or 50% of my normal rates. But if it's a brand that maybe for example, this mic I'm using, DJI should reach out to me now and say, oh, if Rode should reach out to you, don't work with them. Of course I'm going to charge more, because it is my niche. Content creators are asking me, oh, what mic are you using? What this are you using? So I know that it is a hot category for me. It's a hot market for me. So I will potentially lose more if I take on exclusivity. So in that case, I will charge something closer to my actual base rate for that length of time. Per month.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly, per month. So for example, if my normal rate is $500 and DJI wants exclusivity, I'll probably charge them maybe $400. In fact, if I see that they have the money, I will charge them that $500 for every month that they want exclusivity from me, because Rode can come, and want to work with me. So that's number 2. Another thing that you should look out for are your termination clauses.
That's very important.
Like if today now I want to say if I've already signed the contract and maybe next week something happens and I don't want to work with that brand again, can I just email them and say, oh, I don't want to work with them again? Those things would be there. Sometimes they will tell you that, oh, you have to forfeit 20%. If they've already paid you, you have to forfeit 20% of the rates that they've paid you. Or some will say, okay, they will only pay you for the content that you have created, which I think is fair. Or some will tell you that you have to, there's another thing they call first right of refusal. So first right of refusal is supposed to come when I talked about exclusivity. I just remembered it. First right of refusal means that if you are exclusive to this brand, even after the exclusivity is over, if you want to work with a competitor, you must tell that brand first. You must take permission from them before you work with that brand. That is called first right of refusal. Not every brand puts it in their contract, but just know it, because some brands do.
And you need to
know what to watch out for. Your termination clause. So it also comes into it, because if they tell you that, oh, you want to terminate this contract, why? And you say if you know deep in your mind that it's because you want to work with another brand, well, you have to tell them first. And if you've already agreed in the contract, you've already signed, first right of refusal, they have the right to tell you no because you signed it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
Okay.
And the last one will be indemnification.
Okay.
This can come in different ways. They can word it differently in your contract, but it just means that if the brand is getting sued because of your content or because of your conduct, maybe you did something during that time and you had a scandal and now it rubs off on the brand. If the brand is sued, you would be responsible for legal fees for both the brand and yourself.
Okay, that's new.
This is a major red flag because if you ask for that to be reviewed and the brand refuses, don't work with that brand. No matter how good the money is, because it means that they have know it at the back of their mind that there's potential for their product to be controversial, and for them in advance
they are already covering
their own basis and they don't care about you. Like I mentioned earlier, the value, both parties have to feel valued. So once you see that, don't work with that brand. But I'll also link a resource in the description that can help you like scan some of these words in your contract. I'll put the link so you can download it, and it really helps. Of course, it's not like a human being because it's a software. But if you don't have the money to pay a lawyer or pay me to read your contract, that is also a good resource.
So that's really good. I like that you pointed out like red flags to look out for, because I don't know about, but when I was in Nigeria, I didn't sign a lot of contracts. Most
Nigerian brands, they don't use
brands reaching out, but
like
a lot of things are legal, so you have to sign contracts. So you've mentioned the red flags on the contract. Now I want you to talk about red flags on like how to support agencies, like signing to an agency. Like what?
We can start with, I think we want to talk about red flags when you get a brand partnership. First thing, if you see any brand, especially when it's a big brand that everybody knows, like Walmart, Best Buy, and you see that the email address ends with @gmail.com, it's a scam. Don't even reply it. Just report the email to spam. You just know. That usually is the main red flag. And then in the way it is worded, sometimes maybe when you want to call your name, instead of calling you "Hi Falashade," to show that they've done some research, they may just write whatever is your header, your username. They may write something like "Hi beautiful babe" or something like that. You just know that this is weird. But the funny thing is, there are some legit brands that actually do that, and they are usually Chinese brands, Asian brands, all those wig brands. They usually just call you "Hi babe," or they use your username. But usually in your communication with them is how you will know. They won't tell you to pay for shipping. They won't tell you to pay for the products.
Or they won't say when you pay for part of it.
Or they will say they will give you 50% discount code.
Something like that.
So that you will buy the products by yourself. Those kind of things. Like, you shouldn't be incurring any cost except
the
cost of production. And or except you will be reimbursed based on contract. But even that, sometimes they still have some shady ways. Another way is, if you have a friend that's worked with that brand before, you can reach out to them that what's the email of the person that reached out to you? How does it look like? How was the conversation like? So you can use it to gauge. So for example, I worked with one brand in the summer last year, and when they reached out to another person, she reached out to me. This brand reached out to me. Immediately I read the email. I was like, this is not the, and they reached out to me through an agency. It is usually unlikely for an agency, and the brand was a Nigerian brand, but it's a Nigerian brand that is in the US, it's in Canada, all of that. It's very unlikely for a Nigerian brand to give their influencer campaign to two agencies at the same time to manage. So immediately I saw it, I was like, this looks like a red flag. And then I googled the name of that agency, and it turned out to be a photography studio in Chicago. So I already knew, it was a scam. So I just told that this is a red flag. Now, red flags for when signing with agency. Sometimes you may not know.
So you don't even get so excited.
Sometimes you may not know. What I would just say is, whether they are the ones reaching out to you, whether you are the one reaching out to them, you have to ask questions. Like, nothing is off the table.
Okay.
Ask them what is their own costs. Will you be involved when they are talking to the brands? How often will they be pitching you? Do you have to have made a certain amount of money before they can work with you? Or if they are working with you and things are a bit slow, will they just discard you and look for another content creator? Also, yes, another thing is they are asking you a sign-on money.
I didn't know that.
Maybe they're asking you, oh, before we can sign you, you have to pay like 5K. It is not unheard of in the entertainment industry. From the other side, like they will pay you like 5K in advance as their talent.
But not that you are paying.
But you paying is fishy. Is a red flag. Another thing is in their contracts. How are you signing the contract? Is it the kind of contract where they have to sign first and you don't have to see, you can't see the contract at all? They are the ones that are seeing the contract. They are the ones doing everything. Like, you have to be up to. You want to see everything
that you are signing.
Another major point is to reach out to people that they are managing.
To ask.
Because
those ones are the ones that will tell you.
Yeah, because sometimes everything will look perfect on paper. They will answer your questions well. They will tell you everything that you need to hear. But if you go and meet people that have worked with them,
like, how often do they pay their creators? You
how
pay your
often
money
do you?
first,
Yes.
you have to wait for the brand to pay.
Reach out to those people and ask, I saw that you are being repped by this person. What is your feedback about them? Are you enjoying it? Just kind of ask questions. Most times, content creators are usually open.
The ones
to
I've
share.
met, most of them,
especially when they are currently having a bad experience, because they don't want you to enter it, because they wish they had someone to tell them. Also, if they don't have a page, they don't have a website, don't be in a hurry to have management. Sometimes you are not ready for it. Sometimes you don't need it, because this management, they will take 20% of everything that you are making.
So how much are you even making now?
Both the ones that they pitched for you and the ones that came in by themselves, they will charge 20% of everything, and you will still pay tax at the end of the year.
By the end of the day, maybe you are getting like 50%.
Yes, because you will pay videographer, you will pay this person, you will pay all of those people. You will still pay your accountant that will help you do your taxes. So sometimes learn the ropes by yourself. It's not, especially when you are new. Like, personally, I recommend, like, if you are moving to Canada or any Japan, for example, don't get management at least for the first 2 years. Understand the landscape of where you are first of all. So I'll give you an example. When I didn't really know as much as I know now, I just moved to Canada. I was seeing people doing brand campaigns. I was like, and all of them had management. So I said, maybe the key is the management. That's the key. So I reached out to this. It was a small agency too. They had just started maybe a year or 2 years before that. I reached out to him. We jumped on a call. We spoke, and after the call, he said, sorry, you cannot work with me. I can't remember the reason he gave, but I was a little upset. Like, is it that the content is not good? And they will tell you your content is good. Sometimes they are lying. But that's by the way. Your content is good. I'm like, what's going on? But I just let it go. About a year later, when I started becoming more vocal about my experience in the industry, somebody booked a one-on-one with me. And that time I didn't miss to charge for one-on-one.
It was free.
So she booked a one-on-one with me because she wanted to work on the agency side. So she wanted to know how I started working at influencer marketing agency. And then I remember that time when I wanted to work, when I wanted that guy to sign me, she was signed with that guy.
So you now asked
her.
So
I now asked her. She was like, that in fact she's about to leave. That it wasn't a good decision for her business. I think she ended up being the only black person on the roster. She didn't feel valued. She didn't feel like she was being advocated for.
And that's another thing we've talked about before. Check if they have other
black people on their roster. If you are the token black person, it's a red flag because you are either just there and
for
for
diversity,
diversity, so that they will say that, oh,
I know.
or they are just there. You are just a statistic, just to add to the number.
Yeah.
So that was when it just dawned on me that God saved me, because I was still small. With the small I'm making, imagine them collecting, and
you are not even getting as much
from it. So just do all your assignments, cross all the
eyes, and then pray as well.
And pray as well,
Yeah.
because sometimes everything looks perfect.
Yeah.
Another agency that I managed while I was still learning all these things, one agency that she had managed to sign me, I was reading their contracts. It was even my husband that picked up on it, because thankfully my husband did a bit of law when he was in school. And then he was like, do you know that in this contract, what they are saying is that when you leave, when the time you cancel your contract with them, every brand that you worked with while you were signed to them, you can't work with them for at least maybe 6 months or a year. Some even up to like 2 years, depending on the scope of work you did while they were there. So that means all the relationships
that
I have built while I was there, I do not have access to them anymore. Or some they will say you have to come and take permission from them before you work with that brand again. And that was how I knew. And their own was also a very prorated contract. That means if you stay for 6 months, now your quote unquote exclusivity is increased by another 6 months. If you stay with them for 1 year, now they've added another 1 year to how long you cannot be working with the brand.
So and how long is your career?
How long is the career?
Imagine you can't work with like the major brands for like a year or two. And you're just silent.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, your long-term partnerships most times come from brands you've worked with before.
Yeah, true.
So if I can't access them, that is a huge chunk of your income that is being cut away.
So what did you do?
I cancelled it. I said I'm not doing it again. Thankfully, I had signed the contract. But this was about, I had just spent maybe 2 months or 3 months. So it had not gotten to the 6 months prorated this thing. The reason why I went back to that contract was I had been with them for 3 months. I had not gotten anything. I learned later that yes, pitching takes time, so it wasn't really their fault. But something in me just told me that something is wrong. So I went back to the contract when my husband read it, and we were like, you know what, cancel this contract now.
Because the longer you stay,
God will not let us be in bondage.
Amen.
So I cancelled the contract, and that's why a video like this is good, so that you can learn from our own mistakes. Because all these things, I can tell you for a fact that 70% of it, I learned it through trial and error, through my own mistakes.
And like they always say, it's always better to learn from other people's experience and not your
exactly. So that's why do your research. Videos like this, do all those things before you jackpot or when you just jackpot, so that you can get all of that information and you don't have to risk experiencing those things by yourself.
And I think the final thing now that I just want to and this is like an opinion thing, right? Is that so most creators say when they like leave the country, when they move from like any country in Africa to North America or to the UK or to Europe, any part of Europe, that there's this like dry spell, like the first like couple of months where they're not hearing anything, Do you think that spell period can be avoided? If it cannot be avoided, do you think it can be shortened?
I don't think it can be avoided.
Okay.
I'll tell you the truth. And it's so funny, because I feel like if you moved from all those countries to Nigeria, you can avoid it.
Yeah, true.
Because it seems like, sensational. She just came back. IJGB.
Yeah.
But if you move from Nigeria, from all those countries to North America, US, all of that, I don't think you can avoid it. But I think you can shorten it. And you can prevent some mistakes. So, for example, if you've watched this video, I'm telling you,
it's the first step.
This is a master class. This video has the video on Falashade's page. It's a master class for free. There are things I learned as a new Japa person over the last 5 years that I've given
that packed into
this
30-40-minute sessions.
If you sit down and think of those things and action them, and just take your time. Reaching out to brands, using those hashtags, thinking of as a Canadian, what do I want to? What would a Canadian want to know about fashion? What would a Canadian want to know about makeup? about childbirth, about all those things. Where are Canadians, the food, where are Canadians going to eat? And you're using those hashtags, you're using location tags, you're using all those things, and you're putting yourself in the faces of brands. Your drought season will be shorter.
Okay.
Because the major reason for the drought season is they don't know that you exist.
And you have to like make
that. Yes, that is the major thing. They don't know that there is even a Toselani somewhere. They did not see me before. I was there. I've always had this knowledge in my head, but people did not know. They did not know that I exist. So that is the major cause of the drought season. So you have to do everything
to make sure
that you are seen, that you are visible. If you are selling rice, if nobody knows that you are selling rice, it's only you and your family members that will be eating it. So you have to be reaching. That's why networking, like I mentioned earlier, is important. Reach out to other Canadian content creators. Be friends with them. Engage their content.
I know that's something you and I do for each other. And I don't know how we started, but if I see Tosin's post, I put on my stories and
engage. Offer to give them value for this thing, just to build that relationship. And it's not that you're a social climber. Don't just do it because of what you want to gain. Genuinely build those relationships.
And I think another thing to even note is that you have to be okay if they don't reciprocate.
Yes, you have to be okay with it. Because everybody has their own authority. They don't want to be your friend.
And don't make you feel bad.
Yes.
Because many people that reject, there will be other people that are willing.
So just network. The same way when you have a 9 to 5, you're advised to book coffee chats with people and network. It's the same way in content creation. It's just that it's a bit easier because I can drop a comment today, drop a comment tomorrow, and little, all those things, it builds up. So just make yourself as visible in any way you can think of it. Maybe it's the kind of content that you are creating. Maybe in the beginning of your content you say, hey, for them to know. I think also the last thing I would say is look for your competitive advantage.
What
sets you apart from every other content creator or every other lifestyle content creator? It could be your story. It could be the way you shoot your content. Maybe it's one thing that you always say in your videos. There's this tech content creator I discovered recently. Her videos just like every other content creator, but in the beginning of her videos, she say, "Oh, let's get this cracking." It has become this thing. Everybody say, "Oh, that babe that says let's get it cracking." Layi Wasabi is not the first funny comedic content creator, but he has created this persona that is like young boy like this, that is behaving like an elderly person, and it's so relatable, like little cues that he does. I'm like, oh my god, my uncle in Oshogo does this exact thing. So you have to look for what your competitive advantage is and key into it.
And I was just going to say, like, finally we are done. I know we've been saying finally, but I was just going to say that one thing that is important about this competitive advantage is that by the time you see other creators that you really aspire to be like, that are already working with brands, there's that temptation to want to be like them, but you don't want to do that because you are you and you have your own edge. And don't, for example, now I have a friend that does finance content, like Renee. She's a mutual friend, right? And that's what she does primarily. And okay, so let me say that because a lot of brands reach out to her, I now want to start doing finance content and just like throw away the lifestyle part or the storytelling part of being a mom and all of that, I would lose my head. But what I can do is, I'm an immigrant to Canada, I'm a new mom, I'm learning about money. I can bring that perspective and merge it.
It has to fit into your story.
Otherwise, it just be an Ikorodu version.
And you have to bring in like, what's your own? You cannot just be copying what somebody is doing.
No shades to Ikorodu.
You can't just be copying what another person is doing. Especially when you are copying and you are not even adding your own flair, your own touch to it. It's very obvious. People can just say, this person is giving low budget. Falashade. You don't want to be. And it's obvious. People know. They won't tell you.
They won't tell you.
But people notice it.
Yes. Oh my God, I feel like we've shared so much value in such a short while. And like, I mean, I only have you to thank, Lucy. and to our setup and videographer and photographer as well. You can't see him here, but you know, he's here. His name is Omilia Visuals Chris Wood. Link his handle and the link to, you know, his space, so that if you want to shoot like quality videos like this, you can also like reach out to him. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Don't forget to
subscribe, share,
and like. This is a lot of value. The only way you can repay us is by commenting and
and sharing the videos so that other content creators can. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.